The Seahawks won. They did it. And a lot of our priors were confirmed, which is always good. But more importantly, the Seahawks won. As you can see on this graphic, they beat the Denver Broncos 17-16 in an absolute thriller. Monday Night Football. Football's back. The Seahawks won. Don't know if I've said that. And wow, I was impressed with so many things. I guess the place to start is the end of game situation, which was classically Seattle in that it was manic, it was crazy. There was an element of what are we watching here? Griffin, how long has Nathaniel Hackett got?
That's a question for Mark Rogers. I'm failing with my camera at the moment. Physics, right?
This is the first episode we're doing rectangular boxes, or maybe maybe you're just listening to the audio, so it doesn't matter. But we're trying to figure this out right now.
I mean, but Matty, that's above our pay grade. We'll have to ask Russell Wilson's agent that. I mean, first game as a head coach, he's a rookie head coach, right? I thought his game plan was pretty Russ friendly, a good use of his skill set, yes. Let everything flow through what Russ does. I thought that was pretty smart. And then he clearly isolated, some of Seattle's inherent like structural defensive flaws, and weaknesses. So I mean, good on him. I thought with the bigger gains though, that was more Russ creating out of structure. So like, I don't know. I mean, the tape will tell. Like, did he scheme anything? But then again, can you really scheme anything downfield? That's just Russ trying to make things happen. So I don't know. But as far as managing the clock there at the end and what they're doing at the timeouts, and only had 64 yards. I mean, it was a 64-yarder. I don't know, man. I don't know how that will go over internally. If I was Denver, I would hope, well, the guys, let's not overreact. Let's just, keep our heads cool and get on to the next week. It's week 1, Yeah. So beyond that, I don't even know what to process.
Yeah, I don't get so just to outline for everyone, you've all watched it, but the situation 111 in the fourth quarter, 3rd and 14. Wilson gets them into 4th and 5, and you're thinking, well, they're going to go for this and they're going to take a timeout. They let the clock drain all the way down and then take a timeout with 1 second left. And it brings up 20 seconds on the clock. I was actually worried that Pete Carroll hadn't taken a timeout because I was like, well, this is going to be the game. Let's take a timeout, Pete, get the defense up to speed, make sure you've got the right play in, seen their look initially and get everything right so no one messes up. Also give the guys a breather because it seemed like half the defense was cramping out there. But they go and kick a field goal and the analytics say that actually may have been advantageous. Edward of ESPN says that Denver had a 30% win probability attempting the 64-yard field goal attempt, but only a 29% chance of winning by going for it on the 4th and 5. That to me seems very strange, given that McManus has missed his 7 attempts previous of 62 yards and greater. And it's on the road in Seattle with smoky skies and all of that good stuff. So real ballsy of him to take it away from Russell Wilson with his blockbuster deal, all of that stuff. And it was not an isolated incident. The time management throughout the game was questionable. Russell was struggling with it. They had the end of the first half, they drained the clock so much that they ended up with a field goal. But I thought if they'd handled that better, they, could have taken a timeout, had a bit more time to think about things, had a better pacing, mixed in the run game a bit more. It was wild what happened there. I do agree, Griff, with what you were saying about I thought Hackett's designs and his game plan and his blending of heavy personnel stuff and all that goodness. That was nice. It seemed to be a nice mix of what he wants along with Russell Wilson. We'll see if that lasts, especially now with the narrative. But
yeah, man. I don't know how. I mean, this is we're getting ahead of ourselves here, but I don't know how the Broncos game plan, the way exactly that it was, how that's something that can sustain, because they were not touching gun. You can't not run an actual drop back offense.
And it was very
on
segmented,
1st and 10,
right?
like they didn't, and they didn't get into any of it till it was like 2nd and 15 because they had all those penalties. But like you got to run some of it on first. And like I don't know, you can't survive that way. It's not tenable, especially at the rate they were passing within that. Also, where was the tempo?
Yeah, Ty. What did you see on the two goal line fumbles from Denver? Because to me that was again time ticking down.
Yeah, I think Russ is at least partly at fault for both of those fumbles because, you know, clock's running down. He's clapping his hands. It's a little chaotic there. The handoffs weren't very clean, especially on the one that Al Woods blew up. They were just so out of sync at the goal line. I think they ran, 12 plays in the red zone. They didn't score a single touchdown. Like that's unacceptable, and that falls on the quarterback. That ultimately falls on the quarterback. So yeah, I mean, it was kind of, you know, what we've seen at times in Seattle with Russ. The clock management, I mean, he has all the talent in the world, but the clock management can be putrid at times. And it was tonight. And I thought that was a real big reason that the Broncos ended up losing this game, was just Russ not really being aware of what the clock is. Also, you know, right before they end up kicking the field goal, you know, they have the 4th and 5. And they're just letting the clock run down, and then they just call timeout. Like, it's just, that's unacceptable. That's unacceptable for an 11-year quarterback who's supposed to be one of the best in the game. Like, you just can't have that. You can't have that in those moments. And of course, you know, it's week 1 and all that, but it's not a good start. It's not a good start for us and the Broncos. And you know, it's just, you know, we saw a couple of new things, a couple cool things out of Russ tonight, but overall, some of the same issues that we had seen plague him in Seattle were prevalent once again in this game. And so it's just, you have to wonder if that's just not something that's ever going to go away. And I'm talking about more of the mental stuff rather than, you know, some of the physical limitations that he has, some of the schematic limitations that he has, but some of the mental stuff, like that's a big part of it. Like the clock management, that has to get better. You're this deep into your career and the clock management is still a major issue for you in your game. It lost them that game.
And maybe we can deal with the other issues in Russ's game when we talk about the Seahawks defense, but we don't have to bother with Russell Wilson anymore because the Seahawks have a quarterback of their own, Griffin. Some people were slightly higher on a certain Geno Smith than others. Do you know anyone who was perhaps keen on Geno Smith, a bit more optimistic about Geno Smith?
This is your victory lap, Griff.
Yeah. I mean, what's so cool about this is he's playing exactly how he played in preseason and exactly how he played in the Jags game. And again, if you isolate what they gave him in the Saints and Steelers game, I mean, the process was always sound. The accuracy was always there. And we're just seeing more of it, surrounded by, you know, a offense, an installed offense that is built around everything that he does. So, and it just flows through that. He flows through it. It's, you know, it's complementary going in both directions. So it's everything that we're seeing, because you can extract what quarterbacks are doing, what any given player is doing, and you can try to make, you know, projections forward into you know, like you're making projections. You're taking what you're seeing and you're applying it to what you think they're going to do, schematically, and thinking about all the guys fitting around him, and everything's translating. So, I mean, is he going to go 23 for 28 next week? You know, at 8 yards per attempt, I don't know, but I think the process will remain rock solid, and they're going to get more going with DK and Tyler. They were going up against a really talented secondary. So it's it was really cool to see. I know I've got my my special way on social media and everything, but I went into this game honestly completely like confident that Geno was going to be functional. I didn't know what the stat line was going to be. I thought they would connect downfield a little bit more, but I thought he was going to play fine.
Defense being similar, you know, to what he's faced in Seattle, and Carroll himself referred to that.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good point. So I mean, he was dealing, and then he made some big time throws on third down. I mean,
Yeah,
just straight up.
he made enough of them, right? Like there was some scary third downs, like third and long situations where you're like, but the first half was fantastic. Like 23 of 28, he finished 7 yards per attempt, and per completion, sorry, and 2 touchdowns. The second half, did Geno, and we'd need to watch the tape, of course, the fabled all 22, but we'll have a show for you guys out Friday where we review the tape and then preview the next game against the 49ers. But the second half, based off the broadcast copy, as we have to do, did Geno regress in your eyes, Griffin, or was it a case of other factors at play?
Can you repeat the question, please?
You're too busy on the timeline, which is absolutely incredible.
Me never.
Richard Sherman, Doug Baldwin.
I heard the first half and then my brain lost it because
all these. Well, it's a bad question. It's too convoluted. Did Geno regress, or in the second half?
In the second half, right?
Or were there other problems happening, or was it a bit of both?
I don't think we can really say. One, there wasn't really enough snaps, but then with what seemed to be in his control, he didn't do anything egregiously bad on the pocket play action sack. That concept, and we talked about this before we recorded, that concept, those concepts, again, we didn't know the exact route pattern downfield. They usually require the ball coming out like right at the bottom of your drop. And if you're not, then you're hitting an outlet. It's like a 1-2 read thing. You're not really stepping up in the pocket, going through a progression. That's not what that play is. And that happens so quick too. If he did step up, it wasn't for the sake of the concept. It was to go take off and go run around and do something. Like the play was dead at that point. On the other one, yeah, he could have stepped up, but then the guard was getting pushed back. But I mean, silver lining, he's trying to give whatever the play call is life. He knows the pocket is crumbling a little bit, and he's trying to execute the play. So maybe the tape will show he missed the guy that was open. Maybe the tape showed he should have transitioned to the check down sooner. I don't know. You can't say, but he still made some throws in the second half. So we'll see there.
The big thing for me in the second half was I don't know where the run game went. Now, run game wise, again, I'll be interested in watching the tape back, but felt like they're getting blown off the football a bit and struggling, despite what we saw in the preseason, where against like these kind of too high shell defense looks, the Seahawks had actually been able to run the ball very effectively, even when they're playing, bunny ears, first string kind of defense of the preseason. They were able to move the ball. This game, the stat line, they finish at 4 yards a carry, 19 carries for 76 yards. I just don't know why they didn't run it more. Now, part of that is the Penny's 26-yard run, his longest run came, which kind of skews the numbers there because he was 12 for 60. But I'm not sure why, especially in the second half, felt like, I want to talk about the positives of the first half offense, but the formation diversity, they sort of went really into the pistol looks and they stopped using under center, wide zone, and mid zone. I was like, well, this is going to be the drive where they do that. Well, this is going to be the drive where they do, and they just didn't go back to it. And that was unusual. And then there was the drive before, like sort of the end of game moment where I was very, very surprised that they sort of went into the shell. It went really conservative and scared, like the screen sequence, and very weird. But
yeah,
I don't think you can place that on Geno. Ty, did you see similar stuff to us? Or?
Yeah, and also I think it was really, when they had that big run with Penny and it got called back for the holding. I think it was Abraham Lucas who got tabbed for that. That was pretty much it. They pretty much abandoned the run from that point forward. And yeah, I thought that last drive, like the last real drive that they had, where they had an opportunity to put the game away or at least keep the ball out of Russ's hands for the most part. I thought the play sequencing there was not great. Should have gotten the ball in Rashad Penny's hands at least once in that situation. They were running the ball pretty efficiently. Matty, I think you have the numbers there. What was their yards per carry tonight?
Well, I've just mentioned it. I don't know if you cut out 4 yards. But yeah, to repeat, 19 carries for 76 yards at 4 yards per carry, but that is skewed by Rashad Penny's 26-yard rush in the first half. So yeah, slightly. I actually think we'll go back and look at the tape, and maybe the run looks won't have been as inviting. But it seems impossible that they weren't able to take downfield shots because they were staying over the top of stuff in shell defense, and simultaneously they weren't able to run the football well against the kind of inviting boxes that you want. And moving forward, they will definitely, that'll be a point of emphasis for this offense. Yeah, let's talk about.
Quickly, can we talk about some of the things that we saw in this game from this offense? I'm talking pistol full house. I'm talking QB power, a successful QB power.
Yeah.
Multiple tight ends combining for a lot of yards, 2 touchdowns and a lot of yards. Noah Fant being the tight end with the least receiving yards. What's going on here?
Insane.
Yeah.
First career touchdown for Colby Parkinson. Colby P getting some action tonight. Like
the tower.
Colby looked long and smooth out there. I don't know if he looked fast, but he looked long and smooth, and that can combine for enough, to be productive. Yeah, it's cool that they're running straight QB sweep, QB power with Geno Smith on a money down. I mean, he's got wheels. He's a skilled runner too. He doesn't, have the shape like the raw talent there that a lot of other guys have, but he's still working with enough. He's like Jay Cutler athletic, but a little bit more meat on him, so he's got a little more power. And then he was taking hits too. And I don't want him doing that all season long, but this was Monday Night Football, baby. So
he was
fired up tonight.
He got 8 yards, I think, to bring up, and it was it was more than that, but he ran for, I think it was. Hold on. I think it was his 14-yard scamper, which brought up 3rd and 2.
Now,
and that was super impressive because he just ran into. He didn't slide.
He
I was
took
like,
a shot off
the slide's
the head
coming.
Too.
The slide's coming, and it didn't come.
He took a shot off of the head right there on that play too.
Which was and I do wonder about that. I mean, hopefully he's okay, but I do wonder. Like he was going through it the whole game, like in terms of like his poise and his balance. He seemed very, very excited, and I was like, "Well, let's calm down here." But there was no bad decision. The thing we've had a comment from Chris Adams. Thank you for your comment. And Chris says, "My only thing on Geno was his pocket feel. While it's not fair to expect a player out that long to have spidey senses, it did feel like he didn't feel a lot of the pressures in the second half." And Chris, I would somewhat agree with you, but I'd also say like he took 2 sacks, right? Now the first one he did cough it up, and Charles Cross was luckily on hand to make the play on the ball. The second one, he secured the football from his blind side, so I think he felt it at the right moment. I'd also say, and Griffin, you alluded to this, but if you're going to slide up, as Aikman pointed out, Geno wanted to hit an out route to his right. And it was off play action. If he slides up and then tries to hit the out route, the angle is far more acute. It's more likely to get picked off. You can't really do it. The launch point's wrong. So that's probably why he didn't do that. And I think in the first half, the best bits of Geno were all kind of pocket presence, moving up, looking absolutely, phenomenal. Griffin?
Yeah. I mean, I thought he looked great in the pocket in the first half. I think those second ones, when your tackle gets beat that bad. I mean, those were some rough reps for Cross. So, yeah, I mean, it's the timing of the play requires more time from the tackle there. So, I don't know. I want to see what the routes were looking like downfield. Maybe Geno could have.
To me, it comes down to they'd already hit like some big third and pass. They've hit some of those. You can only hit so many. The key is stay out of those situations. And unfortunately, they weren't able to enough in the second half. And again, to me, it comes back to where did the sort of running like element, that counter strike go? They sort of and from under center looks a lot of pistol, but yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he played off script pretty well, especially in the first half. It was that's nice to see because it's like, all right, the timing's good. We know that Geno's going to be able to stay in the system, and it kind of seems like a couple folks in the comments are saying maybe that he was a little stoic in the pocket tonight. I saw someone, I think it was Hustle Chilson, that said that he looks like a statue at times. And I mean, he kind of does, but he showed some good movement getting out of the pocket tonight, making plays on the move. I mean, the touchdown to Will Dissly, of course. He steps up into the pocket, seems like he might be taking off, and then kind of throws it last second there before he crosses the line of scrimmage. Just stuff like that. That was huge. There was that one play where he threw it across his body to Dissly, and he got a PI, I think, or holding. But Rashad Penny, I obviously we got to see the all 22. We got to see what the tape says, but like, it seemed like Rashad Penny had no one in front of him. I kind of wish that he targeted Penny on that throw instead of Dissly, because like, I think that's a touchdown. Just going off of what I saw on the TV, of course. Don't know if there was anyone there. But yeah, that would have been huge. But other than that, I thought he played great tonight. Like, especially that first half, that was perfect. I mean,
yeah, because then it's like second half. The first drive of the game is that the first drive of the second half. Sorry, is that little smoke route to Metcalf versus off coverage that he fumbles, and it's like, well, that felt like it could have been a drive, and then it wasn't. I really felt the execution and the play calling overall just dwindled. And you have to give credit. I think Denver's defense probably made some adjustments and just played better.
They did start to play some more man in the second half, and matchups may not have been being won, but
yeah. So, are we ready to transition to the defense?
Let's do it.
Transition.
And they beat Russell Wilson. So, firstly, great job, guys, and a lot of adversity. We've already sort of discussed the issues Denver's offense was experiencing, and I do think there is definitely an element of, they didn't play in the preseason, and that was their choice. But also, that does show up. I think we've seen through the rest of Week 1 as well. Offenses have struggled. Nevertheless, Seattle's defense, I felt it had some shaky moments, as in like against their heavy personnel and the blend of tight ends that they were using, an I formation. Seattle's defense really struggled setting an edge at times, but then at times they were better. Also, I think the corners were really keen on holding off when they were at the cloud force, the cover 2 cornerback tasked with setting the edge downhill. Against I-form, I felt they're really cognizant of holding off the vertical of the receiver before coming down against the run, which meant they were slower to play the run because they didn't want to give Russell Wilson any opportunity of stuff. So the run game was one issue I can think of. Against spread stuff, I felt they did pretty well. Perhaps they could have wanted a bit more pass rush at times, but I felt they did pretty well. We can deal with injuries in a bit, but in terms of just the absence of Adams, I think that hurt them because I think that would have been a large part of the game plan when it got more spread out. And then the other issue I can think of is the issue in the flats off play action, where they just kept having like an edge defender, trying to hold it off, but then Russell can scramble. So I'm going to go down to this. And there's one time that approach worked, to Gordon, I think, down into the red zone or like near the goal line. But that's because it's more condensed space. But other than that, it kept killing them. So what did you think of the defense, Griffin? And else?
No, I agreed. I agree with you. Like, there were the structural issues in the flat with either, screen identification, or that's kind of a bigger structural issue. But then, overrunning the backside edge defender, overrunning the boot on outside zone action, especially on boots. That was concerning because it was a repeated theme. It was a theme. Then, like you said, they had a couple of moments where they kind of regained themselves, but that's like a structural issue they have. But that defender just needs to be more keen for. It has to slow play the run action a little bit more. And that's also one of the disadvantages you have when you're not gapped out up front, because even if that backside guy also has the boot responsibility, you have one extra fitter in the box that can kind of overlap, So it's it's a tough spot to be in. It's something they got to fix. When they went into spread, which they saw very little of, by the way. But when they did, I mean, I don't think Russ got very little in structure. What he did get was him creating, out of structure. So that gives me confidence for when they face more guys that are more likely to just kind of read the play out and get the ball to the check down. Like we would have seen Seattle rally on that a little bit more. But I think the corners on deep stuff on the perimeter did really well. There were some penalties that I thought were a little ticky-tack. Kobe Bryant on the slot fade just got beat. Had he not, or even if he got his head around, that ball was underthrown. Who knows what happens there? On the touchdown to Judy. I feel like this is the kind of game where they have some serious issues. They gave up a lot of yards.
They did.
But
so
it feels like
Russell 340 passing yards, and they had 103 yards rushing, which was only 2 of that was Russell Wilson. So that was all like legit, running back.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But at the same time, it also feels like there's a lot of meat on the bone, like a lot to rally around and like build out of. It wasn't just like they have a lot of good elements going for them. I do wonder what happened with some of the play action concepts where guys are starting to get open late in it. Is that like a Kobe Bryant thing? Was that Josh Jones maybe with Jamal not in there? There's just no way to know without the tape. So that's the frustrating part here. Yeah. So beyond that, now a lot of those drives in the second half, I thought the edges were getting held pretty egregiously. So either don't hold them and it's a sack, or the play's busted, or a hurry, whatever, or it's a penalty. They were getting yards they should not have been getting out of that. So
Ty,
but really quick, it's good to really see Nwosu and Taylor affect the game though, because they were affecting the game. They just weren't getting credit for it.
Yeah, they were affecting the game. Shelby Harris was affecting the game at times. Like there was definitely some positives to take away from there, and we'll see what the tape says at the end of the day. But yeah, Nwosu, I mean, had an amazing game. Just the energy he brought and the way that he was continuously in the backfield. He had the one strip fumble. Did he get in on the second one? I can't remember. But he was in on one of those. He was kind of all over the field. Had the first sack, of course. Nice play to come up and grab Russ as he exited the pocket. So that was nice. I felt like Boye Mafe was kind of put in some disadvantageous spots tonight. I don't think he was used.
He was just the guy off the bench when Darrell Taylor was
Yeah.
cramping. Like,
It was
go and
basically,
run upfield and see what happens.
Yeah.
Be energetic. But,
Yeah. And they took advantage of that, just kind of his inexperience in general. A couple times it seemed. Yeah,
he should only be on the field when the offense is in gun.
Yeah. And then, of course, the missed opportunities. Russ gifts Quandre Diggs an interception in the end zone. It just falls right through his hands. Jamal has another interception go off of his face mask. Oh, God.
Yeah, because that was the perfect Russell Wilson kind of illustration of like he was running round and it's like, oh, he's gonna lob this to open. Oh no, he's literally lobbed it to like a tightly covered Jamal Adams guy, and then Russ is seeing too high. Oh, he's just gonna throw that into the cover 2 safety. What the heck is going on here? But then Russ sort of actually got some nice stuff off scrambles. Jerry Jeudy went 4 for 102 yards. He was so fast. There was a lot of holes in the defense that I feel like with more stress, more emphasis, I feel like they will get slightly better at defending. There was a sense that it's like how much middle field closed could they get away with playing against Russ? Now, we'll see a lot more of it against Trey Lance, I think, because of how run heavy that kind of 49ers offense was probably going to be. But with the Russ thing, it's like, you don't want to obviously play that much middle field close. You don't want to leave your corners on island, especially with how inexperienced they are. Tariq Woolen had like an up and down game, but he's battling. I hope he's okay because that was an incredible play where he came down, knocked out the first guy, and then took a helmet to the arm. Hopefully it's not broken. Hopefully it's just badly bruised. But not hopefully badly bruised, but hopefully he's not hurt. And then Mike Jackson, I felt, had a really good game. He had a few rough plays, I think, run fit wise early on, but then towards the end, he was clamping guys up, playing aggressive, physical, getting his hands on footballs, and just like he did in preseason. So, and then the nickel situation, Kobe Bryant, he had that tough play against Judy where he's just a one-on-one. Judy's so fast. Welcome to the NFL. Oh, you beat, and it's cover one. That's what happens.
And Kobe nearly picked the ball still.
He did,
Like
well,
the
Russ
ball
threw
went,
that late.
it
That was
went
what's so
through
annoying.
his-
Russ saw it late and threw it late, and Kobe
Yeah.
almost got it. I don't know how he
It
missed
went
really.
through his arms. It went through his arms. It was crazy. Yeah. So, some missed opportunities there, but I think overall, I mean, I was expecting some obvious growing pains from the defense and especially the secondary because, we had seen the depth chart and that ended up ringing true. It was Mike Jackson and Tariq Woolen starting tonight. And it's like, okay, well, Woolen's making his first career start. Mike Jackson's literally started 4 games in his career. There could be some issues tonight.
Yeah.
And then Jamal goes down fairly early on, which, oh God, you got to feel really bad for Jamal Adams. It's just, it's so sad. It's so sad, man. And he was having a really nice game tonight too. And
Yeah,
it's just,
he was.
Yeah,
that's his 4th major injury in his 3rd season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with stuff like that, you worry about. Well, not worry, but you feel concerned for the human and like mental health and
Yeah.
and how challenging that must be. Just he just looked like on the cart. He didn't even look sad or whatever. He looked frustrated and just annoyed. It was a serious quad tendon injury. Pete Carroll said. And I think he described it as rare, which that's never good. Serious, rare. Like hopefully, firstly, Jamal Adams' quality of life is okay, and then hopefully he can come back. But that doesn't sound good at all. Definitely out for the season. And Josh Jones, in the brutal way of football, Josh Jones, next man up. He was already going to play a lot with the 3 safety looks, like we alluded to earlier in the offseason from our spies at training camp. But the 3 safety looks with Josh Jones was the first man up. He took Ryan Neal's job with Ryan Neal being out. Then did Ryan Neal come in the game or did they just play nickel? I think Neal maybe played a few snaps, but I'd have to see the snap counts.
I can't remember.
But I feel we saw mainly just a lot of more nickel, like a lot more Coleman out there. But Josh Jones played great. He was physical. He didn't bust anything. He was really sure tackling. He built on his impressive preseason. So that's a positive sign, despite the fact that like what you're losing in Adams, I think, was their big time passing down plan. Now, Cody Barton's probably that now as like a blitzer, but it's just not Adams. So that sucks. But and you just can't replace that really, along with the fact that he is a chess piece who can do a lot of things. And you can rely on coverage as well. So
people in the comments want us to talk about Cody Barton. Got a lot of Cody Barton comments.
There we go, Dwayne.
He made some plays. The sack, and then he had the tackle on the screen late, and then he just made some like other when he was targeted, just kind of tackling the ball probably where he should have. But
yeah, they tried to get him on option routes in the backfield. And he like played his leverage, pitched his 10. He didn't like get in a head up situation on the back. He just let it get thrown to the outside, chopped his feet, pushed him out the sideline. And it's like, he didn't get his ankles broken. That's impressive stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that fits his skill set. I mean, the 3 cone, the shuttle, it's all there. Beyond that, like we keep repeating ourselves, we need the tape to know what he did. Could he have been targeted? Did he bust assignments on play action? Did he prevent targets on play action, right? Or a deeper drop back stuff? He was in there a lot when they did go gun. And like we said, pure passing situations. He was on the field, and Denver didn't have a lot of success within the structure of the play call. So I assume whatever occurred, Seattle's interior coverage was doing its job. So we'll know more there after we watch the tape.
Yes, we must watch the tape. And press conference wise, Pete Carroll seemed very excited, as he would be. Didn't say that he felt vindicated, but was clearly pretty pleased. There wasn't any real takeaways other than the Adams news in terms of injuries. I think, like Shelby Harris went down, but he came back in the game. I'm sure they're a bit sore after playing a game of football, but other than Adams, it seems promising. Ty, can you think of anything that we should cover? Apart from the Seahawks won, which again,
I mean, that's and also your first place Seattle Seahawks, which I'm sure will last the whole year long. Yeah, I mean, I think we hit all the key points on defense. Oh, we got to give a special shout out to the special teams.
Yes.
Finally got to
Oh
see
my
the
God.
real special teams unit after an atrocious preseason with a lot of backups, a lot of guys that didn't make this team. And then we finally saw the real special teams unit today, and they balled out. Special shout out to DJ Dallas with the Bam
Wow.
Bam celebration, rocking number 31. He popped a dude. That was fire. This game had everything, by the way.
Hey,
This game made me
Tinker.
so happy. Oh
Tinker.
yeah, Carson Tinker. It
Let's
is
go.
Carson Tinker season. We
He can
did not
snap
have
that
any
ball.
issues. Yeah,
He can snap it long.
that ball.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was super
also
impressive.
DJ
'cause-
Dallas had really nice returns today too. So
Yeah,
the-
DJ.
The special teams kicked their butt. Actually, like they
Yeah.
in all aspects, they dominated the Broncos.
We
special
were
teams wise.
we were worried about special teams in preseason, but their main guys just didn't play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
All
showed
right.
that their depth was patchy, but
Yeah.
So for me, kind of looking back on all of this, looking back on this game, obviously, you know, the petty fan in me looks at Russ and I'm like, 16 points, huh? That's it for this team that, you know, this roster that you thought was gonna, you know, take you places against the team that, you know, you thought wasn't going to be able to do that, wasn't going to be able to elevate your game, etc. Huh, how did that work out for you? Then the football person, you know, the objective side of me is just like, you know, the Broncos are going to be okay. They're going to be fine.
Yeah.
they'll be all
We
right.
saw some cool stuff from Russ tonight. And we saw some cool stuff with how they, you know, called the game for him and everything. That was cool.
Russ looks like Russ.
He looks like
he
Russ.
looks exactly like anyone that is, you know, views him in good faith could view him like he making throws downfield, you know, decisive with the ball, etc. when he's in his wheelhouse, you know. I mean, we talked about the interceptions, but like one play was kind of fluky, the other one he just made a bad decision. But I mean, that was a very Russ game. There was some stuff. He took a couple of bad sacks, but like it's Russ, you know. So you live with that. If you're Denver, you don't fret. Long term, at least, I don't think. Not yet, anyway. There's too much good stuff to like be encouraged by. But yeah, we're gonna enjoy this, man. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
The takes are going to be amazing.
Are you
There's
fucking
going to
kidding
be.
me?
I hope we get some like dodgy PR kind of style leaks, but I think it's a bit early for that.
This is like this was the
don't
perfect
know.
outcome, right? Like this was the perfect outcome. Not just that the Seahawks won, but like the way that they won, the way that like Geno performed, the way that
When the
Yeah.
Russ
broadcast
performed.
says that Geno has outplayed Russ.
I mean, that's
quite
everything.
funny.
That's everything you could want and more, right? Like that's so. I don't know if you guys saw this on Twitter. I told my dad before the game, Seahawks are going to win this game. And he's like, I don't know, you know, I saw Geno, whatever, you know, because he's not, you know, so he kind of doubted Geno. You know, we all make mistakes, of course. We forgive you, pops. But you know, so he wasn't sure about it. And I was like, you know what? If they win, I'm buying a Geno jersey. I bought the Geno jersey. It's coming. It's coming.
What is it? Action green?
No, it's not action
Love
green. The
it.
only one they had
Yep.
was navy. I'll tell you this though. I never owned a Russell Wilson jersey.
There you go. They'll have action
Um,
green Geno jerseys probably tomorrow.
Yeah. That's a legendary jersey. Also, the quote after the quote that goes so hard. The
Yeah.
you know, they wrote
Geno's
me
quote.
off, but I didn't write back. I didn't write back.
That's so good. That's so good. Put it on a t-shirt. I'll buy it.
It was a
And by
game
the
also
way-
of like really fine inches, like which is football, right? But like
Oh man,
there
it was a
was that-
great football
that
game.
toe tap tight end where he just had his big toe out basically, and where I thought that was probably, you know, scary. And then the measurement where the spot looked awful and there's a few dodgy spots, but then from our camera angle, there is, and the Seahawks Twitter account tweeted this out. There's clearly room between the chains and the nose of the
what
football.
the fuck was that?
Where's the credit card? Where's the I don't know. Oh, you could fit a pencil in that.
We could see like
daylight.
We could see
the referee's sneaker through the gap. Stupid.
Yeah. Anyway,
crazy.
the days of our lives.
Ray with the big truth. The Seahawks are in first place in the NFC West.
Yes. Your first common Seahawks W, common Pete Carroll W. This was exactly the way that Pete Carroll wants to win too. This was the perfect game for Pete Carroll. I bet he was having the time of his life coaching this game. This was awesome. This was everything that you could possibly want and more. It was beautiful. It was beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Just the whole night, the atmosphere at Lemon Field. The Seahawks have played in some pretty big games over the last few years, but this game felt different than it has in a while. This felt very nostalgic. This felt like a classic Pete Carroll win. I was telling Matty this before we hopped on, that this felt like a throwback to 2010, 2011, 2012, where primetime game in Seattle. No one outside of Seattle thinks you're going to win this game. Even a lot of folks in Seattle don't think you're going to win this game. And you come out and
they thought.
I mean, the first drive, coming out and being able to score in that way with a big play, with a busted coverage and all that, whatever happened on that play, doesn't matter.
Geno was diamond.
He was diamond. He looked great. He looked so efficient. The offense looked just perfect.
Is it a top 3 Seahawks win under Pete Carroll?
No, because you've got
many playoff games.
You've got
There's
Saints wild card, the Niners NFC Championship game. I hated the Packers NFC
Super Bowl
Championship
48.
game, the Super Bowl. The more interesting question is if we just look regular season.
Oh, surely
regular season.
Regular
See,
season.
if you make this too big of a deal, people will make fun of you. But it was,
they want to know.
But it's not just because they played Russ. It's a new era. They're post Russ, so there's two elements going on.
Mm-hmm.
Some people just look at it in terms of like a revenge game or whatever, but it's the first game of a new era, and they churned out a hard fought victory. I mean, that's a statement in and of itself. Maybe this game will matter more if the season goes really well, better than expected. We will look back at this game, even with rosier tinted lens, whatever. Go Hawks. Let's fly.
Go Hawk. Let's fly.
Let's fly.
Indeed.
Yeah, that's a perfect way of putting it, Griff. They've established their era with this win.
It's a great
really
closing of the
launched it
chapter
in the right
too.
way. What was that?
Yeah, it's a great closing of a chapter too, right? It's a great transition game. I think it was perfect to make this week 1. Just because of what it represented. Obviously, that's a big money maker for the NFL and everything like that, but also for the Seahawks and what it represents for the Seahawks. It's the very first game of the new era. You face the old face of the franchise, and you open up this new era of Seahawks football, and the most Pete Carroll way possible. He won his way. He won on his terms tonight. I think that says a lot, and I'm so happy for him. I'm so happy for Geno. I'm just so happy for these group of guys that they were able to pull this out. That's what tonight is about. Tonight isn't about beating Russ or whatever. Tonight is really it's about Pete Carroll. It's about this team. It's about the young guys. A lot of these guys who played in their very first NFL game. A lot of guys that made their very first start in their very first NFL game. For the most part, they all stepped up and contributed in their own way, and were able to win in true Seahawks fashion, the way that we've seen this team win games, the way that we got used to seeing this team win games in 2010, 2011, 2012, etc. This is the foundation that the Seahawks, the greatest Seahawks teams of all time, were built upon. It's awesome.
There you go.
So cool.
Yeah.
There you go. And so, please subscribe to the podcast. Thank you, everyone, for watching. 131 people in here. Woo. We're famous. That's basically,
Mm.
I don't know. That's basically Lumen Field. And
Thanks
yeah,
everybody for listening.
subscribe,
Thank you.
review, like. We're on Odyssey, so that's exciting. And yeah, we'll be back Thursday with news roundup, press conference roundup. Then Friday with the tape review, the all 22 ground freshly by Griffin, myself, and Ty. But until then, this has been Seattle Overload, and the Seahawks are 1-0.
Let's go.
Let's go.